like a good motto to me. I love it.
Welcome back to Wook Plus. Hey, welcome, Kev. Nice of you to join us.
Yeah, so 1 minute left in Antelope, the computer decides to update, shuts itself down.
It's because of all those torrents and shit, man. You're still living in like 95.
I'm like, what are you doing to me? All right, we're here.
That's
What's
cool.
going on?
We got the best viewers in the business, as you like to say. They're super patient. They understand what shit happens, and everybody's happy about the Phish show we just saw. So I'm sure everybody understands. No, we're just getting started. So I don't know, tonight I have a mixed bag. I'll be honest. Parts of tonight I am very high on, and I'll gush all over parts of night just so everybody's like prepared for it, not super high on, but I think overall, when you average all those things out, I think I'm at like a pretty solid show. I don't think it was anything bad. I think it was a decent show. What about you? What are you thinking about it?
With some weird placements. It was just jointed, I guess. It seemed like, I don't know. I think I liked last night's better.
Overall, I think last night's show, because last night's show built and built and built throughout the night to what, the obvious climax of the show with the encore and how, amazing that was. Tonight, there were a lot of ups and downs. Let me bring up this first set list, though. I thought Plasma was a really cool way to start the show, though, and I thought it boded well. I was really excited about that.
Now every time I hear Plasma, I think they're going to play NICU.
Okay. I could understand that. I don't have that connection in my head, but yeah, I could see that.
It's I guess the guitar riff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lately there's been some really good Plasma jams too. I mean, lately as in like the last 3 or 4 years. So tonight I don't think they really did much with it, but it's one of the jams. It's one of the songs that just because for the prospect of what could come, I get really excited about.
I like Plasma when it shows up in the middle of something else, as opposed to a cold start with it.
Sure. Yeah, I think it fits better unexpected in the middle of a jam. This Sigma though, and that's why I want to jump right into the set list. I think probably my highlight, if not tied, it's definitely my highlight of the first set. Absolutely outstanding jam. Yeah, just killed it. Really loved it.
The song has legs. It surprises me seeing, you remember the first time they played it, it opened the show and it was short and almost forgettable. And Trey has built it into a monster there.
Yeah, really.
And the jam out of it works. Sometimes we'll talk a little later. They stick a jam on something that just to have a jam, I think. It feels like a natural extension of the song.
Yeah, well, and I feel like they've rehearsed that setup for that jam because it goes type 2 pretty quickly. Like they break the structure of the song into the jam, but they do it as almost as if it were composed that way, right? Like the setup for the jam is very tight and hit very cleanly and seamlessly, which then allows it to go into the type 2 jam and explore without having that awkward transition.
Well, I have my theory that they practice jams. So
yeah, I mean, I think they practice jamming too. And I think, well, at least I don't know what they do. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but in my limited amateur experience is if you do a cool riff or something cool happens in a jam one night, the next time you're playing, the bass player will like bring it back in and then you'll latch onto it and you build up a vocabulary of phrases of different things. And so sure, like something they played a while ago or at our tech rehearsal will show itself back up in the jam. It was cool too. I was thinking at this point of the show how they kind of given up, they got away from the playing it safe because even though I think I agree with you that last night was overall probably a better show, you could argue that last night was a very safe show. They didn't really go outside the comfort zone. There was no real exploratory jams. I think the highlights of specific jams tonight were a little more risky, right? And it paid off a couple of times and kind of not some other times.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And then we got the Wolfman's. Are you sure there's an arrow that, well, we just copy and paste. I don't think there was an arrow there necessarily.
Yeah, I got sick of people, hyperanalyzing our choices. So now I just blame .net. By all means, continue to hyperanalyze. I mean, you're welcome to, but don't blame us. These arrows are strictly off of .net.
.net. I mean, Wolfman's is, I know everybody loves Wolfman's. I was never that big a fan of it when it came out, and it's okay. It always has a good jam in it, but I really think it peaked long ago.
I like the jams that come out of it, though. I think they're a little bit unique to Wolfman's. I don't particularly love the song part of the song. I mean, it's okay. I don't hate it, but I do really enjoy the jams that come out of it.
The Mexico from 22 was a pretty huge one.
I don't know. I haven't really gone back, but I feel like it's kind of having a renaissance as of late. Because I towards the end of what we were calling 3.0, there were some very average run of the mill Wolfmans, and I feel like there's been some better ones tonight. I think back to more average run of the mill.
Right. Let me ask you this: Wolfman's, started showing up in Trey's set list during 4.0. Do you think that him playing it, we talk about how many Phish songs he plays with that. Do you think that helps them in the jump over when he shows up with Phish? He's like, yeah, I've had Wolfman in my pocket. We've been doing things with that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if for no other reason, just having it more on your fingertips, right? Like they have an insane amount of music, and you can tell sometimes when it's not in his fingertips. Actually, when we talk about Fuego, that was a big thing. I don't know why, but he's just hasn't had it in his fingers for the last couple times. But the more you play something, the more it's in the forefront of your mind. So sure, right. Definitely be part of it.
Right. And speaking of the forefront of your mind,
why don't you take the lead with Evolve? Because I'm curious what you think.
Very interesting lyric. If you've never really listened to it, the gist of the lyric is God is looking at Earth. Right. And telling people to evolve and that he's going to lay back and he isn't going to be part of what goes on is the gist of the lyric there, which I love. And I think of all those Love and Light songs, it's in my top 50%. Why don't we say that? It's better than average when it comes to that body of Trey's writing.
I think it still hasn't reached its ultimate. It still hasn't fully evolved or reached its potential. I don't dislike this song. I think that there's a lot of potential there, but I don't know. I feel like it hasn't completely locked in for me yet. And it was a weird shift too, I think, tonight. And maybe it's because of how relatively old, of a vintage last night was. And then we got a lot of, we ended up in a 2003, but the Alumni, the right. Encore severely dropped that. Right. Most of the night we were up in like the teens, the 20 teens.
Do you call Evolve a cool down song, or is it a step above that?
Yeah, it's like that weird hybrid in between, right?
Mid-tempo rocker.
Yeah, dad rock, like casual listening. You're listening to easy listening.
Now I'm big on Mull.
Yeah.
So I feel like it could have gone another few minutes, and Trey just pulls the plug when he's like, "All right, Mike, you got 6 minutes. You're good. Let's move on to bouncing."
Yeah, Mull has definitely been growing on me, and Mike did a lot to help push that along with the solo release and what he's done with his band. But Trey doesn't feel inspired in the jam. It sounds like a guitar solo.
I got to play your song.
Right. And he plays the melody and he's fucking Trey. He's phenomenal. He's shredding. But I feel like he's just playing I've heard other good guitar players just kind of solo on that riff. Doesn't really want to push it or take it anywhere. And it deserves it. It is a very cool song with a very cool groove,
Second
and it
set
just
potential.
yeah,
Second set potential.
it definitely deserves to be taken out for a walk. And I just Trey hasn't done it yet, and hopefully he comes around on it. Maybe it's hard to force those things.
Well,
So
we aren't getting many repeats, so where there might be another 2 shots at it.
yeah, I
Malt
don't.
might pop up 2 more times over the next 21 shows.
Maybe in the fall tour, maybe we'll get like a really banging Chicago Mull or something.
Right. You think we're going to get anything else from the album, Mike's album, that hasn't been played by Phish already? Because they did the Casual Engagement.
No,
I don't see
probably
it
not.
either.
Yeah, which
That's-
it's
Mike likes
unfortunate.
his band. All right, Bouncing. They could shelve that one. People dig it though.
I have no problem with it. It's fine. It's fun. It's
It-
short. It's like, okay, you get 3-minute bouncing. It's like whatever.
Well,
It's like,
what it is back when I first started listening to him, we made fun of Bouncing.
yeah,
It was almost like calling someone a touch of gray head, like a touch head. Oh, you like Phish because you like Bouncing. It was one of those shitty attitudes that you have when you're 20,
well, that lasted in the fan base because, I mean, it was probably 10, 15 years after you first saw him because you saw him in the 80s, you lucky motherfucker. But that was still the attitude when I first started listening too, was like you still had that Bouncing hate, probably 10 years after it debuted, it still was there.
20 years after. And
Yeah.
here I am hating on it again.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But no, it was fine. Okay, so this I think was when they finally got shit back together. I think they started off the show very strong. Like I said, the Sigma Jam was a highlight for me. And then it was kind of, I think, a little bit off kilter, maybe. And this Stash, and it's such a good song for getting the whole band locked in because they just have its number. I mean, it was, I think it's really locked them in. And
How did the audience do tonight?
what do you mean? Oh, with the clapping? Dude, it's fine. Do what you do with it.
Can we get a rating? Can we get a ranking on how good they were? Because I can't even clap at home. I tried to, and I'm so off. I'm like, there's like 30,000 of me who's so off trying to clap all of.
I am not going to be the guy that critiques the audience participation like that, because like, sure, when you're home and like clear headed and everything, you can nail it. But there's been times where I'm at a show, I hear everybody clap, and then you know what I mean? Like,
Right. I always want to clap 4, but it's 3. The fans decided it was 3 many moons ago. All right, so Bowie, it was good tonight. It was a solid Bowie, but Bowie used to be so much more. And this goes to my joke that it's the all new Phish review. They roll out the Bowie. It doesn't even have any relish on it. It's
right. It was short and compact, and
the intro was extra short. You blinked, you missed the intro.
Right. It was like they were rushing through it, and I don't understand why they were rushing through it. I don't think they needed to. But yeah, it's the opposite of what we were saying yesterday with You Enjoy Myself. You Enjoy Myself still felt like it was inspired, and I don't think Bowie had that. But I still love it. I even if it is a nostalgic act thing, I still love catching it and hearing it.
Right.
It was just very tight, very short.
This is the correct answer.
Yes, serviceable. That's what it was. I feel like we're gonna piss a lot of people off because I overall actually am very positive about this show, but our critiques come out.
I guess it's one of those things where you just think back and you're like, oh, there's so much potential. But Trey wants to put that into Wave of Hope or something, or Fuego. Fuego is his choice, to explore now. And he's like, I've played hundreds of Bowies over my career. I know it's a fan favorite. Let's do it for the people. Let's nail it. Give them a good rendition, get the end going. The end is still one of my favorite things in all of Phish.
Probably the biggest written climax that they have. I mean, it just
right, or Antelope before it does the drop.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a handful of them,
There's a couple, yeah.
but it's in that
Couple times.
conversation. Yeah, all right. I think we're good with the first set, right?
I think we are, yes.
All right, so a little housekeeping. I want to, before we talk about all the stuff going on the channel, because we have a lot of great stuff going on the channel, but I want to let everybody know or remind you to go check out the Wook blog. If you haven't yet, you can go to wookplus.com. It's making its glorious return. Our friend Llama, which you all know, is taking the lead with that. So we have jams of the day that he posts every day, a preview for tour recaps are coming up. There's going to be other things coming up too. So go ahead and check that out. It's definitely has some good articles on there. And then also for the channel, we have how many more? 3 more Dead & Co shows?
Yes, this weekend, 3 more.
Yeah, it's coming to an end. So UNT will likely right will be doing
or me and Llama, so we will be here.
Oh right, yeah. T unfortunately is dealing with some medical stuff. You're in the chat, T. Hope you're feeling better. But we'll be here 15 minutes after encore for those, and also for Phish. So we have double headers all weekend long. And actually, I may be having a baby, so I don't know if I'll be there or not.
Right. So it
any day
crazy.
now.
I even have a plan where I can watch a whole Phish show, do a Phish after show, and still watch a whole Dead & Company show because I can watch over set break.
You got to give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Some asshole told me that one time.
Exactly. And also remember on 7/20, we have Matt Bush coming on. It's going to be a 90-minute spectacular extravaganza. He's taking questions. I know this is a Phish show, but if you put Ask Matt down in the comments, you're watching this later, you want to ask him a question, I'm going to take him till probably Sunday because I have to get up with him and we have to vet them to make sure we don't come off with some crazy question live that he isn't ready for. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, no, that's going to be fun. All right, cool. Let's get into the second set. So an interesting set. What is this thing?
Yeah.
Let me call you an asshole. I really got to be nice with you. I love you. You know that. You're my boy. But when you, 3 minutes into a Wave of Hope, say first 20-minute jam of tour, I just I'm a hockey fan too. So I'm particularly sensitive to, superstition.
Are you superstitious?
Only with premature calling of things like that. I'm not like a broken mirror, black cat, knock on wood type of guy.
You know what the beautiful thing was? What I tweeted was first 20-minute jam of tour incoming, right? And I did it during Wave of Hope, but then Fuego went almost 20 minutes, so I could have played it off and been like, I was talking about Fuego.
Right, but you missed it too because you jinxed it. And you have a terrible track record when it comes to luck. Like when you said they're not going to be any 20. Yeah, last year you said there's not going to be any 20-minute jams, and then the next night there was like a 35-minute disease or something. So I kind of wish your take was, there's never going to be a long jam this tour.
You might have jinxed it in reverse there, huh?
Right. With your bold proclamation of a 20-minute Wave of Hope.
Right, but regardless, I think this Wave of Hope set it up for tour as being, I think when we look back on this in October or after Dix or whatever, Wave of Hope is going to be up there for one of the MVPs of the tour, even though it was cut short tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's had a couple of good years already, and it keeps getting better. I don't think tonight was in that, Hall of Fame versions of it, but yeah. I think there's something there. This Fuego, though, can we talk about this?
We can talk about this.
Okay. So I thought
19 minutes and 32 seconds.
Yeah, and it was something that happened a couple of times tonight. It was a butchered version with a redeeming jam, and I'm fine with that. If I had to choose between a rock solid rendition of the composed part and a subpar jam versus what this Fuego was, where they kind of flubbed up the whole composed part but absolutely killed the jam, I'll take this every single time. Yeah, I don't know why though that Trey I don't want to say it's Trey because they all were off on it. There's just something about that transition that has been getting the better of them. But to their credit, they didn't let it get in their heads, right? They absolutely nailed this jam.
Right. So, see, I'm not sure what you're talking about, really. I didn't hear him, but I don't know enough music to hear if he's played wrong notes, I guess.
Oh yeah, I was pretty bad. Like they dropped whole parts of it, like whole
Oh,
melody
really?
lines. Yeah, it was. I mean, but they're like bad for them, right? It's like not a train wreck. Like they get through it, and you know, if you haven't, if you're not super familiar with the song, you don't even notice. But
Right. Then this Fuego, it got there for me. It did what I want a Phish song to do. It sounded like it completely fell apart at one point. They were all playing something different, and it was beautiful chaos.
yeah, I know how much you love that. Um, yeah, it's great.
It was huge.
It's
Huge.
huge.
All right, Piper, because I got things to say about Ether Edge. Piper, again, no intro. Let's give it the, it's kind of like an Irish love affair, there's no foreplay. It's let's get right into it,
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like slow builds are not even worth bringing up anymore because it's been something that we've just been forever, and it just seems like a thing of the past. But I now think that like a normal build is gone. Right? Like I don't even need a slow build piper. I just need a builds piper. Like
Right.
just build it up at all.
It's buildless, yes.
So there were hints of woos in the jam. I wanted to call that out. I thought they were going to really lean into it. They kind of glazed over it. But did you catch that thing that Trey was doing where he was where like the muted strings, you like hold your fingers of the strings and like the 16th notes rhythm where it's like, yeah, he was driving that jam. It was getting so good. And then all of a sudden, ripcord for Ether Edge. And I'm like, listen, I'm all about debuts. And I was, I was willing, open-minded. Let's see what's going to happen. But I just feel like ripcording that jam for a debut sets it off on a bad foot.
All right, I'm going to have a theme appearing here. I felt like the last 2 minutes of that Piper, Mike took over. The bass was driving. Fishman changed what he was doing. Page changed what he was doing. Then Trey ripcorded it into Ether Edge. Sorry, Mike.
He was like, screw you guys.
Trey says no.
Right, so but I mean, we trust his decisions. I mean, that's his prerogative. So
everybody was saying, "Oh, the Piper Jam was getting out there. They did the new song. He's going to do that. That's where Trey's going to drop it." Because
why are you using that voice? That's exactly what happened. It was going somewhere, and they recorded it for the new song.
But that's what he's going to do to place a new song.
Yeah, but I mean, we're still allowed to bitch about it, aren't we? No, it's all right. You can use the mock.
No, bitch about. What did you think of the song itself?
I don't want to be negative on this show.
Oh, it's all right. You can be you can have criticism without being negative.
I am interested to see where this goes and what they do with it, but I hope it is not often. And out of the Mission ballroom songs, it's my least favorite.
Right.
It's the opposite end of the Oblivion.
Right. I can take or leave the lyric. I could take or leave the song, but it really sounded toward the end of it like they could have gone back into Piper. It was totally had that Piper feeling. And I was like, if they go back into Piper, then this song's going to be an MVP because it showed up in the middle and then they finished it. All they needed was the Piper reprise, right? T, it's a reprise, huh? So there we are. We will see that again. I give that a 3.5 for the over-under on tour.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Brian. You're right. We have criticized almost everything. But, looking at the show, though, I don't need every single song to be, a big home run. If I were at this show, I would have had a great time. I would have thought back on the Sigma Jam and the Fuego Jam and probably, the Mercury into Free, and I would have been like, that was a great show. I had a good time.
And I would have been in the parking lot telling everyone Wave of Hope is the second coming and to look out for it.
But instead we do it here with all of you guys.
All right, so Mercury had a little bit of meat on the bone tonight.
Yeah, dude. It had that like Blissful Franklin's thing going. I was digging it. I okay with the composed part. It's whatever. But this jam was fun. It was a fun, blissful Franklin's, I thought.
Do you think the composed part was better than the Fuego composed part?
Oh yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no criticism, and I know a lot of people love the composed part. That's why I don't want to dwell on it. I've never been particularly fond of that, the written part, but they nailed it. Marimba Lumina got some action
Again. 2
again.
nights in a row was the last time. Now there's your stat. I saw the Marimba Luminaba.
Luminaba. Yeah. And you know what? You get that kind of jam out of Mercury, I will take it. That was definitely fun. Another 3.0, 4.0 song. I mean, how many songs did you have from 2015 on, right?
Everything but Piper and Free.
Yeah, Evolve, Mull, Wave of Hope.
Oh, you mean the first set too? Yeah, we had the 3 at the end.
Mercury.
Right. The 3 at the end of the first set were oldies.
Yeah. A lot of them. Free was fun. Free was a good way to end the set. Mike's new tone worked even better with Free. Like it always has a good funk to it, but I like his new tone with it. It sounded great.
I feel like Free since I guess the MSG run in April of 22 has been a set closer, either first set or second set disproportionately. It used to show up earlier in sets or maybe to open, now it seems like it's found its home as being a set closer.
I was shocked not shocked, but caught a little bit off guard for both Bowie and Free. The sets felt short, and by the minutes they weren't any shorter, but it just something about the songs. It just felt like I wanted a little bit more. Like there should have been something like an exclamation.
Another one,
point.
right?
And there wasn't there. I didn't hear it, but Scott was tweeting that there's a super bad tease in Free. Did you catch that? I'm terrible at the teases.
You mean Makita?
No, Scott Marks.
Oh, Scott Marks. All right, Biz
Archive.
Yeah, let's just call him the Biz. We'll steal it from Biz Marquee. We'll call him the Biz, and then he has a cool nickname.
Or Marks, maybe?
No, because he's Biz Archive, so he's the Biz.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's how you get a nickname. That's how Ryan got his nickname. We debated it on air, and
nobody knows that. It's like I see like all these musicians and shit talking about Young Ryan. It's like old Kev gave Young Ryan his nickname.
Because I worked with a guy named Ryan, and I needed to differentiate in my head who I was talking about.
Wait, are you saying your capacity for first names are 1? It's like as soon as you get the second one, you're like, oh, you need a nickname.
Then I give both people nicknames. Yes, I give lots of people nicknames. I mean, I refer to you as Walk.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
I mean, Llama doesn't have a nickname, but he's the only one.
I don't think I've ever met or gotten that close with somebody for that long without knowing what their. I mean, I know what his name is now, but like for a long time, I was like, I didn't even know what his name was.
It was an email. We ended up with an email from him, I think, is how we all found out.
Yeah.
All right,
and it's actually Llama. That's the funny part. That's the
funny part. The ghost is just the thing that he added for Twitter. Oh. All right, now why don't, if they played Fluffhead tonight, you wouldn't put Fluffhead, Fluff's Travels, Cod, Weeby, but why do we stick Letter to Jimmy Page in there when it has never lived anywhere else except maybe once or twice in 1985?
Are you looking for an answer better than that's what they do on .net? Because I copied this off of .net.
I'm just saying in general.
I agree with you.
Everybody out in the chat, do you just write Alumni Blues? If you had a tape, would you have just written Alumni Blues, or would you have written out 97 letters to put a letter to Jimmy Page?
I wrote Alumni Blues on my notes tonight because I like take my hand notes. I just wrote Alumni Blues. But
I think people just like putting Jimmy Page, writing Jimmy Page. That's why they write it out. But the Ass Festival, we should be putting that in Gula. That's funny. I mean, All right, Alumni Blues is what it is. I feel like Trey added lyrics that he doesn't normally sing, but
He did.
okay.
He said no PhD. So the first one was the standard lyrics because I got a degree and everything. And then he added no PhD and then came back. And I think normally it's just a degree, but he said a regular degree or something.
What about, but did he say something about my girl? I went to my girl's house or something. I don't know. I might have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah. Well, I know the no PhD was specifically added because of the whole PhD thing from
last night,
right? Which is kind of on the nose, like super on the nose, but it's fun and who cares? You get alumni out of it. And then Antelope, and this was a very good way to end the show. Talk about getting your exclamation point, right? I think that for what we didn't get this previous one, we got it there.
Right. I feel like out of the two between Antelope and Bowie, because I have them together in my head, always minimal lyrics, lots of jamming sections. I feel like Antelope's the one that still, has a little life. If you gave it a little jack, a little shot of electricity, you could really come back alive again.
Yeah, I agree. And I love catching it. I hope we do get a really ripping one that has that. Cool. Well, listen, I think that's it for tonight. We don't have to go super long, everyone. I really appreciate you guys being patient in the beginning. Like this video.
Thank you, everyone.
Subscribe.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right, Kev. You've nailed like every after show for like 3 years. You're allowed to be late once. Also, let us know in the comments what you think. Share it. We'll try to get back to you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
I got a degree.